This fuel tank skid plate is for anyone with a 1997 to 2006 TJ that need a replacement for your fuel tank because you've either crushed it off-road or it's just rotting away, especially if you live where we do, where they put a ton of salt on the roads in the wintertime. This is going to be a pretty easy part to install. We are going to go 2 out of 3 wrenches because the fuel tank skid plate is also what holds the fuel tank into the Jeep. So when you're replacing this, you're dropping the fuel tank out of the Jeep. There are some connections you have to disconnect, both electrical and plumbing. So a little bit of work involved there, but it is pretty easy to do, and we're going to show you how to do it in just a second. So like I said, 2 main reasons you're going to be replacing this: if it is bent or broken from a contact with a rock on the trail or maybe even on the road, or it's just rotted away. And this is going to be a really great replacement that's a little bit less expensive than going directly to the dealership and getting a replacement from them. Of course, anything that comes out of a Mopar box usually comes with a little bit of a premium, where this is going to be a little bit less expensive, but still, for all intents and purposes, be a factory piece. This is OEM style. You're going to be able to drop your OEM fuel tank in there. It's going to go right up to all of your factory mounting points. So it's just going to be a little bit less expensive, but still a really nice replacement that will bolt up pretty easily. One thing to note is that this is just going to be the skid plate, and this does not come with the straps that hold the fuel tank into the skid plate. So if you're looking for those as well, they're going to be a separate piece. We do offer them, but you'll want to make sure you pick up those separately. If your straps are in good shape, you can reuse them with your new skid plate. Like I said, a little less expensive than going and getting one of these directly from Mopar. This one comes in at right around $275. I think that's a pretty good deal for you. You might be able to find some that are a little less expensive, but they're not going to be as thick of a material or come with as nice of a finish on them, and that's pretty important, not because you see this very often, but because you want to make sure that this stays rust-free for a good long time, so you want it to have a really good coating on it. And again, you do want it to be pretty thick because this is what protects your fuel tank when you are doing any sort of off-roading. So I think for the quality of the product, the price is really fitting. I think you're going to get a pretty good deal at right around $275. So like we said, we're going to go 2 out of 3 wrenches on this because of everything that needs to get disconnected in order to get this installed, but let's show you how to get it done right now.
Tools required for this installation are going to be a Phillips head screwdriver, a push pin removal tool, 3/8 drive, various extensions, 13mm socket. This is a Phillips head on a socket. A 3/8 drive impact is optional, and a 19mm socket on my 1/2 inch for my lugs. All right, so the first step into removing your gas tank is to free up your filler neck. We're gonna first remove our gas cap. And now we're gonna remove all 8 of these Phillips head screws. And pull this trim ring out, and there's your filler neck. All right, now we're going to remove our wheel as well as our inner fender. Let's start with the wheel. All right, now we're going to remove our inner fender well, and there are a few push pins. So I have a push pin removal tool here. I'm just gonna get underneath and pry up. You can see they are the Christmas tree type. There's gonna be 2 down here. Let's get it past this upper lip here. Try to fold down on it. Get it past our fender flares here. All right, as you can see, we have our fuel pump electrical connection here. We're going to unlock it like that and then pull on our electrical connection and separate it. Now here are our fuel supply and return. Your return may have a hose clamp on it. Ours seems to be missing it, or it was never reinstalled. So we're just gonna pull back and get this return line freed up. Let me get a screwdriver. Maybe I can open it up a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna stick a screwdriver in between the fuel line and that copper. Also twist at the same time. Just trying to get it past that barb fitting, flared fitting at the end. Just keep that away. That's not gonna be leaking. It's good. We're gonna release our fuel line now. All right, so this is our main fuel line here. In this clip, we're going to squeeze and at the same time push backwards on that black fitting, releasing our fuel line. Now I did bring a rag into place here just to absorb any of the dripping gas you can see there. I'm just gonna get that out of the line. All right, so you can see I'm bringing a transmission jack into place and I have the vehicle on a lift. If you're doing this in your driveway, you can do it in your driveway with all four wheels on. You may have a little tough time getting that tub out of there, that wheel well, but then you can use like a piece of wood with a regular jack and then go run the length of this. This, however, has a nice flat surface, so I'm just gonna bring it up into place and let's get right about there. Get a little tension on it. And then I have 3 6-inch extensions. Probably don't need that much, so I'm gonna take one off. Might get a little tight on the back section, but I have a 13mm socket. I'm gonna start undoing the nuts holding the skid plate in place. So now we're looking above the rear axle. This is your 5th link back here or your panhard bar. Now we're going to remove the 2 nuts over here, and there's one over here hidden behind our tailpipe. All right, with those 6 nuts removed, our gas tank is now hanging up there just by our jack. Now I'm going to slowly release the tension on this, but I'm going to keep in mind that my filler necks are right over here by my frame rail. So, oh, there it goes. It is free. Bring it down a little bit more. And I'm going to try to position these filler necks in a way that we can get this out as one unit. All right, still bringing it down very slow. I'm gonna try to clear this exhaust and then move the gas tank towards the passenger side in order to clear that filler neck. So we're almost there. And this kind of goes without saying, you're gonna wanna do this with the least amount of fuel in your gas tank as possible. All right, there we go. Just gonna lower this as low as I can go and get that neck, filler neck out of the frame. And there's our fuel tank. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and unstrap our gas tank. I have a 13mm ratcheting wrench. Just gonna go ahead and loosen up the 2 nuts on the strap end. All right, now we're gonna save this nut and we're gonna be reusing these straps. And I'm gonna bring a power tool in, get this other strap off. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and take the fuel tank out of our old skid plate. I'm gonna grab the filler neck over here and the other side and just snake our straps out of here. All right, now we're gonna place our old gas tank into our new skid plate. I got my buddy Ryan over here helping me out. We're gonna go ahead and snake our straps through. I'm gonna do this one there. Make sure the gas tank is sitting nice and flat. Start a couple more threads down there. Get a nut. All right, then we're gonna take our 13 and tighten up these straps first. I'm gonna do it a little evenly. All All right, as you can see, I now added a strap to my trans jack. That's because I'm going to be maneuvering this thing in some pretty awkward ways to get this fuel filler neck back between our tub and that frame rail. So let's go ahead and start jacking up on this. Moving it over just a little bit. All right, so our filler neck is now through. We'll move this over a little bit more. And we should be almost in line with our studs. Looks like we got a little clearance issue with the shock over here. It's actually, the skid plate needs to come over about 3 inches. All right, so we're pretty close now. We're gonna finish that up, start our nuts. Make sure the back is in line as well before we tighten everything down. All right, so with all the nuts started, let's finish them up. So now that your fuel tank and skid plate have been bolted up, we're gonna reconnect our vent and supply line. And our supply line here. Just gonna make sure that the clip gets set in there like that. And then we're gonna push until it engages and lock it in place. And lastly, we're gonna reconnect our fuel pump. Make sure this is locked as well. All right, now we're gonna put our trim piece back around our filler neck here. Put a couple screws in here to hold it. Put our gas cap back on. All right, now we're gonna put our wheelhouse liner back in place. Making sure that my holes line up. Everything is in the right place. All right, now we're gonna reinstall our wheel and tire. That's gonna wrap up my install of the Crown Automotive gas tank skid plate for your Jeep TJ. And for all things Wrangler, keep it here at ExtremeTerrain.com.